In 480 BC, Persia invaded Greece for the second time. The previous attempt, by Darius, king of Persia, had failed in 490 BC at the Battle of Marathon. This time Xerxes, son of Darius, had assembled a huge army and a great fleet and, having made a bridge across the Hellespont, entered Greece. The Greek resistance was led by Sparta and Athens, but most of the Greek city-states either remained neutral or submitted to Xerxes. The Persian advance was blocked for several days in the Thermopylae Gorge by a small force of Greek allies under King Leonidas of Sparta. Finally, the Greeks were defeated and the Persian army advanced south. After capturing northern Greece, the Persians reached Athens. The city had been evacuated, although some priests and citizens remained to defend the Acropolis. Despite fierce resistance, the Persians conquered it, looting and burning the city and its temples. However, the Persian army could not continue advancing south because the Allies had fortified the pass to the Peloponnese. Both sides then sought a naval confrontation that would set the course of the war. An Allied fleet, made up largely of ships from Athens and commanded by Themistocles, an Athenian general, assembled at Salamis. Themistocles, in command of 300 ships, attracted the Persian fleet, made up of about 700 ships. The Persians entered the Straits of Salamis, where their large number of ships was an impediment for them to maneuver, being defeated by the Greeks. The Hellenic victory made Xerxes return to Asia, leaving his general Mardonius in command with the best troops and with the order to finish the conquest of Greece. The following spring, the Greek allies assembled a large army and headed north, seeking to engage the Persian army in battle. Mardonius had withdrawn to Thebes, in the Boeotia region, to choose a battlefield that favored his tactics, especially the cavalry, which the Greeks lacked. On the banks of the Esopus River, in a flat area that he cleared of trees to facilitate the maneuvers of his horsemen and build a fortified camp, he waited for the arrival of the Greek army. Across the river, to the south, the land rose to form the Scythian range of mountains. The Greeks crossed the mountains and formed a defensive line along the hills, facing north. The ground rising from the banks of the Esopus River to Scythian might provide some protection against cavalry charges. On the Greek left flank they formed 10,000 hoplites from Athens, Plataea and Megara and 10,000 soldiers with weapons and light armor. At center left is a contingent of 7,500 hoplites and as many lightly armed soldiers from a variety of Greek city-states. In the center right another 8,000 hoplites from Corinth, Plataea, Arcadia and Sicyon and 8,000 light infantry. The right flank was composed of about 10,000 Spartan, Lacedaemonian, and Thespian hoplites and about 20,000 light infantry soldiers. The total of the allied army, under the command of Pausanias, regent of Sparta, was about 80,000 soldiers. Of these, 35,000 were hoplites and 45,000 light infantry troops. Mardonius had some 100,000 warriors and a force of 5,000 cavalry from various parts of the Persian Empire. The armies remained in their positions for several days, without any deciding to attack. Finally, Mardonius seized the initiative and sent his entire cavalry to attack, under the command of General Mecistius. The Persian cavalry attacked in waves, closing in on the Greeks, firing their bows or throwing their javelins and falling back. The Persians saw a weak point in the line formed by those of Megara, on the Greek left flank, and concentrated their attacks against them. The Megarians called for help and a contingent of 300 hoplites and 400 Athenian archers joined them. After a new attack, the Persian general Mecistius himself was killed after putting up great resistance and the Persians had to withdraw from the fight. Emboldened by this victory, the Greeks decided to advance towards the plain of Plataea, between this city and the Esopus River, abandoning their defensive position in the mountains. Seeing this, Mardonius formed his army across the river, parallel to the Greek lines. On his left flank, facing the Spartans, the elite Persian troops, numbering 40,000. In the center 40,000 Asiatic, Median, Bactrian, Indian and Sasha allies. On the right flank, facing the Athenians, a contingent of 20,000 hoplites and light infantry forces from Boeotia, Macedonia and elsewhere to the north, subdued the Persians. They spent 8 days in these positions, until Mardonius sent a cavalry force by night to encircle the Greeks on their right and come to the pass across the mountains of Scythian. At dawn, they intercepted a caravan of supplies for the Greeks that was making its way out of the pass. The caravan was destroyed, leaving the alliance, which was far from their homes, without the necessary supplies. After this, the riders returned to the north bank of the river. Mardonius waited 2 days and once again launched all his cavalry against the Greek lines. The Persians managed to reach the Gargaphia well, which was now of vital importance to the Greeks, having been denied access to water from the Esopus River. The Greeks were in dire straits, with no water, barely any food left, and no supplies. On the morning of the second day of the attack, the Greeks decided to return to the base of the mountains, where they would at least have access to safe water sources. The center withdrew to a position called the Island, near the city of Plataea and which was protected by the division of the Ouro River into 2 channels. The flanks remained in position due to a Spartan unit, under Amampharidas, refusing to withdraw. Pausanias began to fall back even though Amampharidas' unit was left behind. Finally Amampharidas complied and followed the rest in retreating from him. Seeing that the Spartans were falling back, most of the Persian cavalry attacked them. The Greeks held their ground and withstood the barrage of shells as best they could. Pausanias called on the Athenian left flank to do the same and join them. As the Athenian left wing moved towards the Spartan, the Greek division of the Persian army crossed the river and attacked them. The elite Persian troops, under the command of Mardonius, crossed the river and formed up against the Spartans, near the temple of Demeter. Seeing his comrades advancing against the Greeks on the left flank, apparently fleeing, the rest of the Persian contingents in the center rushed to join the fight, piling up behind. At this time, the Spartans attacked Mardonius's troops, clearly outnumbered. However, after a hard fight, the Spartans and their allies managed to break through the Persian ranks and reach Mardonius, killing him. From that moment the Persian army began a general flight. The Persian cavalry, under the command of Artabazus, managed to partially protect the withdrawal. Meanwhile, on the other side of the battlefield, the Athenians managed to defeat the Greek allies of the Persians, who fled towards the city of Thebes. The Greek center advanced in disorder and joined the pursuit. However, a Persian cavalry force managed to attack them from the flank and inflict heavy losses. The fleeing Persian forces took refuge in the fortified camp, on the other side of the Esopus River. The Greek allies converged in front of the camp and attacked it from several sides. After hard fighting, they managed to breach the palisades and the Greeks entered the camp, killing thousands of Persians who were crowded inside and taking only 3,000 prisoners. With this, the battle ended. The casualties on the Persian side were between 50,000 and 90,000 men, and those of the Greek alliance slightly less than 10,000. The Battle of Mycale took place at the same time, and in it the Greeks managed to destroy what was left of the Persian fleet and defeat a contingent of 10,000 soldiers. The remnants of the Persian army, under Artabazus, returned to Asia. Militarily, the Battle of Plataea once again demonstrated the superiority of the Greek hoplites and phalanxes over the Persian infantry, something that had already been seen in the Battle of Marathon, in 490 BC. With the Greek victories at Plataea and Mycale, the Second Persian invasion of Greece ended, beginning Hellenic hegemony and putting an end to the aspirations of the Persian Empire.